Mixed martial arts is a weird place. There really is a bubble that insulates our sport from the outside world, and until you've ventured beyond the cover it provides, which many hardcore fans rarely do, you don't realize just how insane a lot of what happens day to day in MMA really is when compared to more traditional athletics. So today we're going to be taking a look at 10 such things that you're simply not going to find watching football or baseball or even our older cousin boxing. I'm Tommy from MMA On Point, and these are 10 ridiculous things that only happen in MMA. Number 10. The prominence of ring card girls. Ring card technicians are not new to mixed martial arts. Boxing and wrestling have been utilizing some variation of ring card girl for forever now. But only in MMA do they have the prominence that they do. If you don't believe me, name a single ring card girl from the boxing world. Go ahead. And you know what? You can Google it too, because you're still gonna have trouble finding any info, even if you're cheating. Now name a UFC ring card girl. Of course, you can probably name almost all of them, or at least a good portion. In boxing, does Max Kellerman say on commentary, "And there goes the lovely Chandelle between each round"? No. The camera doesn't even bother to show you the ring card girls in boxing most of the time, let alone acknowledge them on the broadcast. Here in MMA, things couldn't be any different. Every single round, you're getting at least a shot, and certainly to start the fight, you're getting a shout-out. Brittany Palmer and Ariane Celeste have made full-time careers out of being ring card girls for the UFC. They are in many ways brand ambassadors, attending fan events during fight week, doing interviews. They're considered a part of the brand, and that's largely carried over to other promotions as well. Bellator prominently features their ring card carriers. While there are some who see their existence as archaic, it's hard to deny that at least at the highest level, the recognition these women are given, as well as the opportunities that being so prominently featured presents for other work, is wholly unique to mixed martial arts.
Ariane is like my kryptonite. I'm Superman and she's like my kryptonite.
You got it, man. You got it.
Number 9. Things only fighters get away with. There is at least one incident a week that happens in mixed martial arts that would be headline news all over the country if it were in any other sport. But because it's MMA, nobody seems to care, whether it's the sport's seedy past reputation, where it was seen as human cockfighting in a cage, or the fact that we're just not as mainstream as we want to believe we are. There are things only MMA fighters can get away with and still keep a relatively normal life as a prominent athlete in the sport. Case in point, the recent incident with Mike Perry at a restaurant. Not only was Perry dropping people, he was doing it on video. Imagine if even the most minor NFL star was seen in a video like this. That story would be running around the clock for a week on ESPN. It would trend to number 1 on Twitter. It would be a huge deal. But because it's MMA and it's Mike Perry, nobody really cares. Even John Jones, the greatest fighter ever, one of the most prominent names in the sport, his arrests are but a footnote in the larger sports world. If LeBron James got a DUI, it's on the front page of every newspaper on the planet. Perhaps only Conor's transgressions have reached a status beyond our MMA bubble. Some of the ridiculous things that fighters say on social media that are either racist or homophobic, or that hawk some crazy conspiracy theory.
Like, man, you're telling me that we're spinning, and then we're spinning around the sun, and the sun is shooting down this fucking shit, and we're just sitting here chilling on this podcast like no big deal. It's like doop, doop, doop.
They go largely unknown and unbothered, and that is simply not the case anywhere else in the sports world. Number 8. Forever mid-2000s style and culture. You know what was cool in the 2000s? The 2000s. Mohawks, graphic tees with 3,000 skulls, holding pistols, holding angels' wings, covered in barbed wire from companies like Affliction and Ed Hardy. Nu metal bands with names like Godsmack and Drowning Pool. You down with the sickness, bro? There was a very distinct popular culture moment for all of these things, and their peak was certainly fueled in part by the surge of MMA's popularity in the mid-2000s. And while the world has largely moved on from that phase, MMA seems to be stuck in some kind of endless loop that even the sterile corporate Reebok gear would not keep down. While it's not as prominent, if you're going to see any of the cultural hallmarks of 2005 anywhere in the world, it's going to be at a UFC show. Let us not forget that many cards still open with Face the Pain. And if you're headed to a live event, well, it's time to dust off that graphic tee in your closet because you're gonna fit right in. Even a lot of fight gear outside of the UFC still has that era's feel. For a lot of fans that found MMA in the mid-2000s, it marked one of the great high points in the sport, and a whole bunch of them never wanted to leave that era. Number 7. Weird sponsorships. As a byproduct of MMA being essentially banned in the United States for a number of years, the sport's ability to attract blue-chip sponsors took quite a while to develop. Sure, the UFC may be all about ESPN, Anheuser-Busch, and Reebok today, but the era of Rich's Tire Barn and Condom Depot wasn't too long ago, and as such, the residual effects of that era linger on. While the UFC isn't too big on the more absurd sponsorship deals now, although Otter Pops and the government of the United Arab Emirates could give any of those brands a run for their money, how many of your favorite NFL players are hawking dude wipes or CBD oil? Every person involved in the sport has a CBD sponsorship now. By watching this video, you two have just been given an endorsement deal by a CBD oil company. Congratulations! Gambling websites are some of the most major sponsors in the sport today. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good malt liquor as much as the next guy. And of course, these types of things are used by and sold to fans of other sports as well. But you're simply not going to be seeing the NBA All-Star Weekend Dunk Contest brought to you by Alpha Brain. Number 6. Booing boring fighters even if we love them. In no other sport is winning in spectacular fashion so much of an issue as it is in mixed martial arts. We want fighters to win, but we don't want them to win in certain ways. Kamaru Usman is a perfect example. His dominant run as welterweight champion is generally met with disdain due to the perceived lack of action in his style. Now, maybe Kamaru is a bad example since he doesn't seem to have a ton of fans in general, but you could take the most popular fighters ever, and if they put on a boring show, they're getting booed. If Conor McGregor stalled from top position for 25 minutes or simply didn't engage his opponent for an entire fight, he's getting booed out of the building. I don't even care if we're in Ireland. The expectation in MMA is that you entertain us, and that trumps everything else. In no other sport is that the case. Even in boxing, our closest equivalent, boring styles are often praised and cheered as incredible implementation of the sweet science. And in ball sports, forget about it. The Patriots could have the most boring game in NFL history. So long as they're winning, the crowd will stay cheering. Tom Brady doesn't have to worry about whether he's entertaining enough. It's all about just winning, baby. Not in MMA. You win fun or we don't care. Number 5. Insane near-death weight cutting. Weight cutting has been taken to an extreme in mixed martial arts that is not seen in any other sports that include it. Yes, there's weight cutting in wrestling, and to a degree there's weight cutting in boxing, but both of those sports have far closer incremental weight classes, and in boxing the perceived advantage is nowhere near as large as it is in MMA. And as such, there are insane weight cuts being done in mixed martial arts. We've covered at length some of the more extreme cuts that have been made on this channel, some that went well and some not so much, but look beyond what is perceived as normal practice here in the MMA bubble. Wrestling is not a mainstream watched sport. Boxers aren't coming out to weigh-ins followed by the Grim Reaper. NFL players aren't nearly killing themselves the day before a big game just so they can have some kind of perceived advantage against their opponent. We don't have to see Kevin Durant looking like he hasn't been fed in a month the night before the NBA Finals. It's a testament to just how weird this whole weight cutting phenomenon is to MMA by the fascination it draws from outside audiences. Particularly emaciated fighters often make sports headlines, and some of our best performing videos are about weight cuts. It's definitely far beyond what other major sports ask of their athletes in the lead up to an event. MMA is a wild place. Number 4. Fans and athletes' interactions on social media. The access that fans have to the most prominent figures in MMA is truly remarkable, and it's honestly unlike anything else in any other major sport. If I was instead of Tommy Toehold, Tommy Touchdown, who made cartoon parodies about the NFL, first of all, they probably would have copyright struck my channel in about a month to the point of deletion, and secondly, you never would have heard of me anyway because nobody would have bothered to give me a chance. Whereas in MMA, I was meeting with Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta within a year of starting my channel. That is ludicrous. Fans and fighters are constantly arguing and interacting on social media. It's just a regular occurrence. It's not even anything special. Sure, NBA players might fight with fans on Twitter, but they do it from burner accounts until they get caught. They're not duking it out all day with the riffraff who have 7 followers from their verified accounts. Dana White might be the best example of this. Never one to pass up the opportunity to dunk on someone that says something he doesn't like, DFW does not have a filter based on the prominence of the person posting the message. He will gladly say fuck you to someone with 3 followers as quickly as he would someone with 300,000. This man is worth over $500 million. Imagine Roger Goodell making fun of some NFL fan for being ugly. The absurdity of MMA is on full display on social media pretty much every single day. Number 3. Promoters decide championships. Most sports have a clear-cut path to the championship. In the NFL, the teams with the best record in each division make the playoffs. The two teams that make it through that are in the Super Bowl. A similar structure is seen in the NBA, Major League Baseball. The NCAA often uses a tournament structure. In mixed martial arts, it's whatever. Whatever makes the most business sense usually. Chael Sonnen hasn't fought at light heavyweight in years and is coming off a loss in a middleweight title fight. Let's give him John Jones and a championship bout because they don't like each other. Conor took 2 years away from the sport. Of course he's going to fight Habib Nurmagomedov for the lightweight title. Did you see that bus video?
It's the most disgusting thing that has ever happened in the history of the company.
6 months later.
And they literally called me and said, we're being attacked right now by Conor McGregor.
Who cares if Dan Henderson is ranked 11th at middleweight? He and Michael Bisping have some unfinished business, and it'll make for a great headliner. Is Aljamain Sterling next for Petr Yan? It depends on what Henry Cejudo plans on doing. And let us not forget Tony Ferguson and poor Colby Covington. You are guaranteed nothing in mixed martial arts based on your record alone. Yes, it can put pressure on the promotion to make it seem as if they're legitimately trying to place number 1 against number 2, and that oftentimes does happen to their credit, but it only happens because they allow it to happen. Number 2, old athletes are big draws. Other mainstream sports do truly hold their legends in high regard. The NFL's Hall of Fame speeches are some of the highlights of the entire season and are featured prominently by sports news outlets. But if I told a Cowboys fan that Troy Aikman is going to be starting as quarterback this weekend against the Eagles, watch how fast that love turns into boycotts. MMA is completely different. We love our over-the-hill fighters. In fact, we never want them to stop, even when it's clearly to their detriment to keep going. And while we may talk about how bad it is, the proof is in the ratings. Some of the highest rated Bellator shows have been headlined by Ken Shamrock, Kimbo Slice, and Hoist Gracie. Legends are paraded out into fights all the time at smaller shows as headliners to get a local draw. Shogun Rua and Little Nog are a co-main event in 2020. BJ Penn was supposed to continue his UFC career until those bar fight videos came out. We cannot let go of the legends we loved in MMA, even if that means they're fighting 2 weight classes higher, even if that means they're slow and barely a shell of what they were, so long as we get that nostalgia pop from seeing their names on the marquee and watching them walk out to the cage, we are going to keep watching the shows that they're headlining. Number 1. An interview can change your whole career. In MMA, just like all other sports, you do have to win to be a big star. Nobody is out there losing all their fights and then headlining cards. They may lose more important bouts and still be considered major draws, but by and large, you have to win. The difference between MMA and other sports is that winning doesn't always guarantee financial success and chances at championships. As we've discussed, your style of fighting matters. The whims of the promoter matters. And yet another difference from other sports is that your interviews can change your entire career's trajectory. Name one iconic NFL interview that shot someone into superstardom. You can't. How about a boxing interview even? There are famous boxing interviews, but they were done by headlining boxers. Nobody's coming up from the mid-card because they told Conor McGregor, "You're taking everything I work for, motherfucker." That post-fight microphone time can be vital to your career. One solid call-out, and suddenly the interest in that fight is growing and the promotion is considering putting it together. In no other sport can you alter your career path by simply talking into a microphone. The 49ers don't get to play the Patriots in the Super Bowl because they cut a sweet promo. Chael Sonnen may be the greatest example of this. Despite his style not being the most fan-friendly, when he started talking the talk, his career skyrocketed. Colby Covington, Conor McGregor, winning isn't everything in MMA, but drawing power is. And if you're good on the mic, you might find yourself headlining shows far before your peers who use their post-fight time to thank their coaches and families. A big thank you to Ben Rosette, who provided that sweet tune you heard in the intro. Check out his music by clicking the link in the description and go give him a follow on his Instagram and Twitter page at Ben Rosette. Huge shout out to the legendary once and future King Tomas Welsh for editing this video together. Follow him on Instagram at Big Beat Visual. That's beat as in the band from Doug and not a forceful strike. Thanks for watching. Please give us a like and subscribe. We've got 3 new videos or more for you every single week. Let us know what you thought of the video in the comments below. Follow On Point MMA on Twitter and have yourself a wonderful day.